Yeah, between two burns. Between two burns, yeah, between two burns. Come and join the convo. Jason and Ethan here to talk, yo. Chillin' while we filling up the room with cigar smoke. Hey, between two burns. Between two burns, yeah, between two burns. This be the show that you like. We always keeping it hype. We got cigars and a mic, talking the pipe and the pint. Let's go.
Between Two Burns is back. We're kind of on a normal schedule. We're getting there. We meant to record yesterday, but we weren't able to, so we're recording today. We're going to get
It's better than next week.
Yeah, and I think we're going to record again next week because I want to get onto that Tuesday schedule.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Because we got cool.
I'm waiting.
So we can actually do it or whatever for multiple reasons or whatever. But Between Two Burns, it is July 29th, 2026, our Lord's year of 2026. And
we're searching for the Holy Grail.
It's not 10,000 fucking degrees outside for a change.
Yeah, it's actually really nice.
It's warm out.
Yeah.
Let's see, it's summertime, but man, it has been...
It's been brutal.
Brutal hot here.
And rainy, which we needed. Sound like
but now it's... We could stop the rain for a while.
Yeah.
Now it's rained, not too much, but...
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to get your wish.
What's
I think
that?
It's supposed to rain all next week.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did actually see that, yeah. All right, so we're going to talk cigars like we always do. We got a nice little topic today, our cigar journey, I think is what
this is a customer request.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yep. Customer came in, said he'd listened to our most recent podcast and asked me how I got into cigars, and he said I must have touched on it in a certain podcast episode, and he was like, I kind of want to hear more about that. So we're not that vain. This is a customer request.
Oh, and I don't even think you would have to be vain to suggest that this is a good idea, right?
Yeah.
I mean...
And then we're doing a little Mount Rushmore at the end.
We're Mount Rushmore fans. We've stolen this. We don't want to take credit. Stolen it directly from the guys at Pardon My Take at Barstool who do Mount Rushmores on each one of their episodes this time of the year because there's like barely any sports going on, so they fill their time with random topics that they Mount Rushmore. I think today that you want to do, I think is great. I need a little clarification when we get to it or whatever, how we want to do it, but I think is going to be a good time. Before we start, what you smoking?
I'm smoking the LFD 30th anniversary from the Titans of Tobacco that Mike sent. Yeah, it's good.
All right, interesting. Real quick. So Padron 3000 Natural.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Nothing super special. But, so I don't think we talked, did we talk about it on the last podcast, Titans of Tobacco at all?
We briefly touched on it, but not a lot.
But yeah, our soon to be coming up Orderland event with the man himself, Mike Martello, sent you 6 cigars from Titans Tobacco, which was at Greenwich.
Yep.
What's the name of the shop? Is it
Tobacconist
just Tobacconist of Greenwich, right? Yeah. And they did this huge event called Titans of Tobacco, which I don't know if is that the first one they've ever done or they
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because this was a legitimate
the coolest
big deal.
It's the coolest event that the industry's had
that I can think of, outside of any
in a long time.
Obviously.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So there were 6 cigars. Well, there were 6 cigars made for it. Mike was lucky enough to go, and everyone that attended got a sampler box that had 2 of each cigar in it. And he was kind enough to send me 1 of each. And so the 6 cigars were all blended by the quote-unquote Titans of Tobacco that were there, which is kind of where the Mount Rushmore idea came from, but we'll get to that later. So there was a Foundation 10th anniversary with Nick Maleo. It was the LFD 30th anniversary with Lido. There was a Padron Black with Padron, obviously. There was an Opus 25th with Fuente.
Yep.
And then there was one from Eladio Diaz, and then there was one from Henke Kellner. I have smoked the Padron, the Foundation, the Opus, and now I'm smoking the LFD. So I've still got the Kellner and Diaz left. And I'm only smoking them when I can sit down and actually enjoy them.
Has any one of them stood out like, golly, that's really, really good? Or let me ask you this. The ones you've smoked so far, have they been in line with what you would expect from those? Did anybody do a brand new blend specific for this, or are they
I don't know about
exclusive sizes for?
They were all exclusive sizes. I don't know if the Kellner or the Eladio Diaz were new blends, or if they make that cigar. I don't know. The other 4 though were all new sizes of blends that were already made.
Existing blends, which you've had before.
Yeah, and they've all been good. I mean, listen, I was probably most excited for the Padron, and I think they were selling boxes of 10 of that cigar for like $750. And I wasn't ever going to buy one, but I'm very glad I didn't buy one. I'll put it to you that way. It was good, don't get me wrong, but like it wasn't that good. And Opus 25th, I may be in a minority here. That's one of my least favorite Opus blends. Not that it's a bad cigar. It's a very
I like
good
it.
cigar,
it's a good cigar, but
there
are other ones I put above it.
Yeah, I'd prefer to have a couple other ones above it. So far, this is really good. Larry bought me one of the LFD 30s when we had the humidor, so I've only ever smoked the one. So far, this is really good. And then I actually smoked...
I really enjoyed the LFD 30. I kept one
yeah,
and got one for myself as well.
I smoked the Foundation 10th anniversary on the last podcast we did, and it was very good, but I actually like the Salomon size more.
Of the which one?
Of the Foundation 10th anniversary.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Great idea, though. Very cool.
So cool. I mean, the presentations of it and everything like that were like off the charts. I mean, that had to take some serious planning and getting together with people. And obviously, Tobacconists of Greenwich is big business, very well known.
They had a wine for each cigar, too, or each person there. I don't know how they got the wine. I don't know if it was
a wine like
they had a Napa cab for every single person that was there. I don't know if it was 6 different wines or it was the same wine that had 6 different labels on it.
Oh, gotcha.
But they have a brand called like Rare Finds, if I'm not mistaken, where they do stuff like this, and it was the Rare Finds Napa Valley Cab collection.
Okay, got it.
And it was one for each of them. Which is also really cool.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, just wanted to touch on that briefly. That's literally one of the coolest events that I've ever come across. But like, serious plan. It's not something you probably do every year. You probably bring it back every few years. It feels like just because the expense and the time it probably took to plan something like that, get with everybody on their cigar, commit to that, selling the tickets. I mean, tickets were expensive if I remember. I mean, had to have been expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. I don't know how much they were, but I mean, it was, if you were a big name in the industry, you were there. Mike told me. So here's the thing. It was a big charitable event too, and they raised a boatload of money for charity. I don't know what charities it went to. I don't know if it all went to Fuente's charity. I don't know if it was multiple charities. I don't know. But Mike told me, if I'm not mistaken, there were, I think it was 3 boxes of Padron Black Lonsdales, which has never been released to the public before. 10 count boxes, and I'm 99% sure he told me they went for $32,000.
Each?
Total. The whole lot.
Okay.
All 3 boxes, $32,000.
Holy Christ.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Well, I mean, big props to people who spent that money for a good cause. Like, I mean, organizations need that money to do things, and people reach out and do it in those ways. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I saw some coverage of it. I know Cigar Coop went and he just raved about it, and I saw a couple other like cigar media outlets, and I heard nothing negative about it.
Yeah, I didn't either. Everything I saw coming out of there was awesome. Like, pictures coming out were super cool. So I mean, just one of those cool events. Not good. It's not Cigar Club, at the Pipe and Pint. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But they try hard. They're doing their good job. They're putting in the effort, and I appreciate it.
That's right.
All right. Well, before we get into the main topic, I don't think we got much to recap as far as new stuff that we've seen and come into us. We've got a few things. We got new Crocodrillo from Warped today, which was a PCA thing.
Yep, it's a tweaked blend on Crocodrillo, one size, 6.5 by 54 Toro. It's got a Brazilian binder. I'm 99% sure the original one had just Nicaraguan and Dominican. So I hadn't had a chance to smoke it yet.
It literally just came in this morning, just a couple boxes of it. But outside of that, I'm trying to think if we really had anything new that we haven't discussed, because we talked about, we added West Tampa. Illusione is back in. I think we touched on that. We've got a big West Tampa Illusione combo event this
I do
Friday.
actually have something to say about Illusione real quick. And,
okay. Let's hear it.
I don't know if you saw this or not. Did you see... Actually, let me back up. So when we did our PCA recap podcast, I said on the podcast that my favorite cigar that I smoked while I was at PCA, not afterwards, but while I was at PCA, was the Illusione MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Did you see what Halfwell gave it?
I did not. So I'm going to take a wild guess here. They've been on a heater with some scores of late, and not in a good way. And the fact that you're asking me this suggests that it was not up to snuff. It's either not up to snuff or an outrageously high thing. So I'm going to say 84.
78.
Whoa.
So this was Patrick that did it. Little synopsis. I can't help but notice that the roots of the Illusione Ultra MK Ultra trace back to factory mistakes. As it seems, the story has come full circle. I couldn't figure out why the 3 cigars I smoked for this review wouldn't stay lit for more than a few seconds between puffs, leading me to wonder if there was some sort of mistake in the batch. The cigars didn't feel problematic, but there was something amiss about each of them, which is disappointing because it did seem like there was a pretty good profile just waiting to be enjoyed, though I couldn't really tell you what it was, as my frustration with the combustion stood in the way of the enjoyment of my cigar. And then he said, actually,
and that was your favorite at PCA.
Then he said, this is a cigar that might deserve an incomplete grade more than a numerical score, as there's simply not a number that feels right to put next to it.
Well, at least there's some sort of, we'll call it admission to that maybe just bad luck got a few that just came from a batch that just weren't up to snuff.
I was talking to Austin about this. I mean, that cigar is one of the more important ones in the Illusione world, because the Corona size is what Dion blends everything to, and the MK Ultra was a cigar that Aganorsa made in the Corona size that was too strong for the original Documents line, and Dion ended up releasing this cigar. I think it was only on New Havana, and it got such fanfare behind it. He ended up doing a full release of it, and then in 2011 it was, he ended up doing a full Ultra line release, and we carry Ultra now. Yeah, the MK Ultra is just that. I think it's a 5.5 or 5 1/4 by 46 Corona size, or 44 Corona size. But yeah, it was Saturday. It was the 4th cigar I smoked that day, and it was the one that stood out to me the most. And I had no problems with it, 0 problems, no combustion issues, no lighting issues, no draw issues, no nothing. So I don't know. It's pretty wild.
That's wild. Yeah, maybe we chalk it up. Maybe they'll redux it, and they're not going to do that anytime soon, unless there was some convincing going on. But that seems well out of the breadth of which is usually Illusione. Yeah, we talk about the things that make Illusione kind of quirky at times and stuff like that. It's not usually that, though.
No, and there were a couple comments on the post that were like, I've had so many construction issues this year with cigars, which is funny because I feel like a lot of the construction issues, I don't feel like I've seen much of them as recent. Not like COVID, anyways. Where you're talking
across the board. No, I haven't either, and certainly in some of those companies that we experienced COVID issues and with them seems to have fallen off.
Yeah.
So nothing. There were some certain companies we're not going to name, we're not going to get all that, but during that period of time, you just knew you were going to have a problem. It just, if somebody came up to you and be like, "Oh, I'm having a problem with the cigar," you could red flag almost immediately what that probably was. I have not seen that, and that's not due to a lack of selling cigars. We can promise you that. So,
yeah, I don't know.
I agree with you that QC seems to have gotten back on track.
I was shocked when I saw it. I mean, I didn't think that they were going to give it a 93 or something, but like I said, because it was strong. Strong at the show. And Half-Wheel tends to not like super strong cigars, so I was expecting about an 88, somewhere around there, and then I clicked it and saw a 78, and I was like, well.
And that seems to be their wheelhouse anymore, which is somewhere between 87 to 89 for a good cigar, and they really got to knock your socks off for them to go above 90, because it doesn't seem like they really go above 92, 93, and you could almost count on that being on their list at the end of the year if you see something get up there that high. But yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, people pay attention to it. It could affect how people
and I mean, I still stand by what I said. It was the best cigar I smoked at the show. The funny thing about it is I ordered some at the show and they never came. I don't know that they're ever coming at this point, if I'm being honest with you. I never asked what happened there, but it doesn't matter. So I don't know that we'll ever have the cigar in here, so it doesn't matter. I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah. Outside of that, not this is kind of the lull a little bit, if you will.
It's the lazy, hazy days of summer, right?
Yeah, for new releases. We've got some stuff coming next week. Those line extensions for Tatuaje will be in. We're expecting the Summer of Love. I think it went out today, so we're expecting that on Friday probably, which is from Fuente, which is something they've been doing, I think, to kind of fill that gap. It is the summertime kind of lull. Because summertime is not our slowest time of the year. Like most retail businesses, early part of the year coming off of the holidays typically is. But this is a kind of a pause, if you will, kind of a plateau in the season where the early part of the spring and early summer kind of really ramps back up. You get a lot of people out of town, so you kind of plateau as you then move into August, and then you just see that steady increase all the way through the end of the year because of the holidays and temperatures become more cigar friendly and stuff like that. So usually you see the stuff coming out of PCA that's ready, right? Kind of hits within the month coming off of there, especially now that PCA has been moved to the earlier part of the year when it was in the dead heat of the July. Then there was really a lull this time of the year because as early as 3 years ago, you and I would be at PCA basically right now or just coming off of it. So you wouldn't even be expecting the new stuff from PCA for another few weeks. They wouldn't be into August and then September and then moving forward. So now that you've got PCA towards the earlier part, first quarter, now you see that earlier part of the year filled with some stuff. Now you have this lull and then stuff that was planned for the end of the year starting to come. Because we've talked about the Perdomo one being the big one that's probably coming towards the end of the year. This Tatuaje one is a little confusing about when they said it was coming, when it actually does come and everything like that. But it's been kind of a flat thing. We've smoked some new things with some companies, obviously. Word's getting around how good the store's going and everything like that. So we've had companies kind of pop it in. Hey, I'd love to be a part of it. And we've got to try some things, good and bad, that have come through.
Yeah, one of the most interesting ones that I'd never heard of before was Cayman Cigars. That guy that came in. Cigar company is completely non-profit, which is fascinating. All their profits go to
unfamiliar.
Yeah,
myself.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm a for-profit. Yeah,
that's right. All their proceeds from their cigars go to, I think, men's mental health, AA, NA, charitable groups that support those things. But the cigars are made at the Domain factory, and we've talked about Domain before on here, and we smoked the broadleaf that I can't remember the name of, or I smoked it, and I think Cole smoked it. It was very good.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to try stuff like that. The question is, and maybe this is a topic for another podcast, is how does it fit in the humidor? Where does it fit? Can it fit? What's it going to take away from? What is it going to be a good addition, or is it going to be a subtraction? So, it's a fine line you got to walk because there is only so much space, and there are brands that we're committed to that take good care of us, that we've got good relationships with, and we don't want to take away from that by bringing something new in.
Yeah. We talked about this a bunch of times. Everything in the humidor sells. Something new wants to come in and we don't have the room for it. Something's got to come off. We really have to be on board with what that company's selling, the product, the other things that may, not be as important depending on who you are, but the story, the look, the vibe, all those things really play into it. We've had that problem with Illusione in the past. Love the cigars, but what is the general marketing push from the manufacturer perspective behind it to get it in front of people? Because, we can hand sell it all day, but if people don't recognize or don't see it in the places that they look for cigars or look for cigar content, let's say, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, they have a tendency to look over it, no matter how good it is. I mean, that's just the nature of retail and product merchandising across the board. That just some do it better than others. That's just an area that we feel like that they have lacked over the years, is getting some brand awareness. We our guys go in the humidor with you, they hand sell it and everything like that. But putting all that pressure on them with something that maybe somebody's not heard of. I mean, plenty of the cigar geeks here, but you know what I mean, know what Illusione is. But you're trying to appeal to a more broader market, right?
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I know we just brought Illusione back in. I love them. I will say while the branding cohesiveness has gotten better with their brand, the marketing has not.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Mike actually sent me a video on Instagram last night that they had posted, and it was like, what is this? And it was
that Illusione had posted?
Yeah, and it was literally
that's the thing.
The caption of it was the world's best tasting cigars, but it was an AI video of like cartoon rockets taking off into space, and then it said Illusione, and I was like,
it's just super lazy.
I was like, well, yeah, it was super lazy. And listen, I like AI.
Yeah,
I use AI.
Well, yep.
But I sent Mike a message back, and I was like, a fish family didn't need to die for this. Like,
that's
you
right.
know what I mean?
That's right.
We didn't need to dirty up some water for this stupid video. But then I started scrolling on their Instagram, and every single thing, it was just, and it's stupid AI post, right? Like, we can have an AI and cigar podcast another time, the good, the bad, the ugly of it. That's the ugly of it. Like, there's just no effort. It's like, hey, make me a AI video of rocket ships taking off. Like, that has nothing to do with your brand unless you just want to be weird. And then it's not even weird. It's just lazy. Like,
super. Yeah.
I don't get it.
We use AI, and I think we use it in the most effective way that works for us, you know, whether it's writing copy, flyer design, and everything like that. But when you're a manufacturer, you can use it. Certainly there's ways to use it, but just a simple, for something as important as that, it feels very, lazy, short-sighted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially
when it's not hard to get something good now, right? That's real, that's authentic. I mean, we're in our podcast studio right now. You're doing this. This doesn't take we've got it set up nicely, but it didn't take a ton of effort, right? We did it the first time and getting there. We're continuing to improve on it, but like, this is something we're able to squeeze in and do. You would think, like, if you want to be an upper crust, boutique cigar manufacturer,
just hire a part-time marketing guy that fix all your problems.
Yeah,
let them shoot your stuff, make it weird, let them do the post,
and they're out there. I mean, we've got one here who does it, for a company and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's difficult to find, you know what I mean? They're doing very good things, you know what I mean? And if you want to be different and unique from that, I just think there's better ways of doing it. Again, coming from a guy who uses AI all the time for all sorts of things that I think are effective, falling back on it like that too easily, I think.
I think this may be our podcast discussion next week. I have lots to say about this, but I don't. About AI marketing, cigar companies using it. Like, I've got a lot of stuff that's going on in my mind, but I'm gonna hold it in. We'll do it next week. Tune in for
episode whatever that is next week. We'll record it.
Yeah.
So you texted me and said, "Hey, we were texting back and forth. What do you want to do for kind of a topic?" Because again, we're kind of in the low doldrums. You said, "Well, I had this. I want to talk about our cigar journey, how each of us came to be, whether it's in cigars as a total, with the pipe and pint itself." And I thought it was a great topic because I think our avenues are intertwined between you and I, but are going to be, I think, probably have similarities, but radically different in ways as well. So I think it's a cool discussion to have. I'm not even sure how we want to start. I just want to say, I'll start by saying I do not remember the very first cigar I ever had.
Really?
What it was. So for me, before getting into real estate, which is my career up into buying the pipe and pint, I spent all my time working at golf courses through high school. And then after moving here when I was younger to Greensboro and everything like that, the very first cigars I would get were left behind by golfers. And I don't mean like they were smoking on them and I pulled the butts out or anything like that. Right. Not that. All right. Not insane. But we're all guilty of it. You take 4 or 5 cigars on the golf course. Some guys maybe didn't have, it's kind of before the prevalence of like travel cases, like Pelican case style cases, hard cases. And the same way guys lose their phones, their wallets, their golf balls, whatever, you throw it in the front of the golf cart, you're done, you go home, boom, you left it. So young guy cleaning golf carts out, stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's okay. And I would get those cigars. Like, listen, if I found a guy's watch, I'm giving his watch back and stuff like that. You leave a cigar behind. Listen, that's the cart guy tax. There's certain things that are the cart guy's tax, right? If I'm cleaning your clubs, especially if you didn't leave a good tip or something like that, there's some certain things that are acceptable. It's like, listen, you left this behind. You left 2 sleeves of Pro V1s. I hate to tell you that they're no longer there, right? That just is what it is. You call it stealing. I call it finders keepers. Okay. I don't ever remember what they were, like what brands or anything like that they were, because I was just like, okay, it'd be cool to have them. So I stick them in my golf bag, and they would get like, this is before I knew anything about like how to handle cigars, how to store cigars, anything like that. It might be in my golf bag for 6 months, and then I would go play golf. I'd be like, oh, I got a cigar, and I smoke a cigar, and it just would go up like you would have the typical problems, like it's dry as all get out, right? So it's like it would bust, it would fall apart, it would unravel. You're just like, dog, this is a good cigar right here. Like, and like, guilty as anything is like, yeah, it's probably Cuban, right? Like it's really cool. But you're talking about like when you're like 16, 17, 18, 19, whatever, and you're just like, you're trying to a bit live in that world of like the country club guys who are like, you go on later on in your life to realize like these guys are just guys.
They're just dudes.
Yeah, but when
dudes being dudes.
You're just dudes being dudes. And a lot of times they're just douchebags being dudes. But at the time you think like there's a certain, I guess, glorification that comes along with certain items in a masculine way, right? Cigars, whiskeys, scotch, that like, oh, it's for a certain.
That's a man's, man. That's Ron Swanson.
It's for it's Ron Swanson. That's right. You're carving things out of wood, that kind of thing.
Going home and making a big old steak and then making sweet love to your woman.
Exactly. So it's what you wanted to like be like, right? So that was like my first introduction to like being around cigars. And then I would a lot of times, because a good player would go play with these guys. You're like, hey, I'm getting off of work. We need a fourth. They're gambling a little bit. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll play. Put my tips on the line. Let's see what happens. That kind of thing. Now, the very first cigar that I would say evolved me into smoking cigars. Okay. And this is going to be, I may have told you this, and everybody's like, oh, but it's under a different name now, but it's still wildly popular. Okay. But at the time, it was called Kahlua. It was the cigar Drew Estate did with Kahlua. It was Kahlua branded liquor brand. It's now Tabac is what it is. Specifically Dolces. I don't remember, at least the ones I'd have were a Connecticut shade wrapper, which is Dolce. I don't know if they had what is now the Negra version for the Kahluas or not. That's the first cigar that I remember, like, this is what it was. And I think like a lot of people got my introduction or indoctrination, whatever you want to call it, to cigars through a flavored cigar. And we talk about that with a lot of customers, like how you can graduate through, and flavored stuff is a very popular way for people to begin because it's something that they can grab a hold of, not be super turned off on, but then get to be a part of the lifestyle, if you will. So that is the very first cigar that I remember. Like, I remember that cigar and remember it till now. And I think at the time it came in a tube.
Really?
Acrylic.
So it was like a liquor flavored cigar kind
of
thing.
Yeah. It was presented a lot. If I'm remembering correctly here, somebody's gonna be like, "Nah, that's not how it was." It was. It came in a tube, a lot like what is now, used to be the Maker's Mark cigar, which is now the bourbon cigar. I can't remember what's it called.
Ted's bourbon.
Ted's, excuse me. I don't remember if it was waxed. It may have been. Somebody can correct me if I'm not. And, this is like 2000, 2001, 2002, 3. I feel like it's in that, I can't remember when Jonathan Drew started to kind of do that. It may have been even closer to 4 or 5, but like that's the first cigar where I was like, then I got multiple and then graduated up. I kind of went straight from that to something traditional. And the Pipe and Pint is the very first ever real cigar shop I ever went to.
All right, I'm gonna stop you there.
Okay.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get me to the Pipe and Pint.
Catch me up.
I'm gonna get me to the Pipe and Pint. So, I was always fascinated with tobacco. Right, growing up in the South, I picked some tobacco during the summer. Sometimes there was a farmer at church.
Get out of here! Nobody telling people lies on this podcast.
You didn't know that?
This is all honesty podcast.
It is honest.
You're in the fields picking cotton, or not picking cotton. Oh, good Lord!
Oh my
picking
God!
Tobacco.
We're about to get.
I'm editing that out.
Jesus Christ!
You're picking tobacco in the fields. As how old were you? 5?
I was in middle school.
So were you really? So I had dead ass truth. You're telling me.
Yeah. So I had 2 buddies that I grew up with. They lived through the woods from where I grew up. They were twins, and we spent every summer together, and they worked on a tobacco farm, and they invited me to come out and help some, and we would go out there and we would pick tobacco. They did it more than I did, but I'll never forget the tar that you get on your hands, the nicotine buzz that you'd get through the tobacco and everything. But I didn't do it a ton, but I did it a couple times a summer with them. And then when I was in high school, there was a farmer at the church that I went to that grew tobacco, and he hired me to help him hang tobacco in his curing barn. And I would go and do that. And I remember the first time I did it, I asked him if I could grab just a piece of tobacco to take home with me, because I was like, I'm going to smoke this. And I get home, and by the time I got home, it was already dry, and like I tried to smoke it, and it didn't happen. It literally crumpled. I don't know why. It just did. Yeah. But like I always had a fascination with it, but I didn't know anything about it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I turned 18, when I was about to turn 18, I told my dad, for no reason whatsoever at all, other than I like tobacco, I wanted to smoke a cigar with him. Okay. So like I would dip, like I dipped in middle school, high school, trying to be cool. And then I'd always take some Red Man Gold from my dad when I'd go fishing. Me and Randall would go fishing down at my grandparents', and I'd stink my dad's pouch of Red Man Gold, and we'd put a big old chaw in and everything. So like I just like tobacco, right?
My dad watches all these podcasts. Never told him this. It's probably, I think everybody has done this in some sort of way that's exposed to it or whatever. 1993. I'm like 12 or 13, and literally snuck the pack of cigarettes, my dad's Marlboro Lights, out of his, I think his car, at our house in Michigan. And if he's listening, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He had this huge, like, shrub in our front yard, massive.
A shrubbery.
Yeah, but massive. But you could go in, almost, like how when a magnolia tree grows really low, you can get in there almost high. I could go inside of this thing and then smoke like really fast one of his cigarettes or whatever. Now he's gonna listen to this. He'd be like, "What the man?" Like, oh, that's what happens. Yeah. I mean, you're sneaking around trying.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever told my dad about the Red Man. I'm sure he knows. He knows
now. He's got to be. He better be a podcast listener.
Stupid.
He ain't stupid.
But yeah, so like we would go fishing, and like I said, I had a fascination with tobacco for no other reason than just like I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Right. And so right before I turned 18, I told my dad I wanted to smoke a cigar with him on my 18th birthday. No idea why, outside of just liking tobacco. I thought cigars were cool. And so my dad at the time was traveling overseas a lot. And he went overseas, came back, and I remember it was like a few days before my birthday, and he was outside in our backyard, and he like came inside. He's like, "Come outside." And I go outside, and he's sitting in a chair, and he hands me this pack of Cuban Cohiba cigarillos. And he was like, let's do this. And I was like, are these Cuban? Seriously? You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And so we sat there and we smoked these cigarillos. You know, he taught me how to smoke it or whatever. And I just really enjoyed it, right? And after that, I had no earthly idea what I was doing. I thought I was hot shit because my first cigar was like a Cuban cigar. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
you're an elitist.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we actually, me and Randall, we went on our senior week trip right after we graduated high school. And so I was going to JR's because I didn't know about the Pipe and Pint yet. And for those of you who are listening who are from around here who might remember, JR's wasn't just a cigar shop back in the day. They had everything.
Yeah, you get
literally everything.
You get you some socks and underwears. And
correct. That's where I got my cologne from.
Set of
back in the day,
and then a box of cigars.
Yep. I would go in and they had Paris Hilton for men. And the reason I got that
Paris Hilton for men was the cologne you wore?
The reason I got it
Sick.
Is because Caleb and Jacob, the guys I grew up with, their older brother smoked cigarettes and he didn't want his mom to find out, and he used that to cover up the smell of smoke, and it worked. Good. And so like that, I know.
I assume that's what Paris Hilton used.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So anyways, I went in and I bought me and Randall an entire box of Black and Mild wood tip wines. And that's what we smoked on senior week, along with some other cigars that I had, right? Like, I had no earthly idea what I was doing. But let me back up a little bit here to prom my senior year. Again, not knowing what I was doing because I almost quit smoking cigars. I'd gone to JR's, and my dad told me that he used to smoke Hoya de Monterey Excaliburs back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were.
Yeah.
And so I go into JR's, and nobody acknowledged me, whatever. So I was like just looking around trying to find these Hoya de Monterey Excaliburs, and I find them. And JR's at the time sold cigars in like 3-packs and 5-packs.
Yeah.
And they had a 3-pack of Churchill Hoya de Monterey Excaliburs for like $25. And I was like, I can barely afford this, but I'm going to get them because that's what Dad said he used to smoke. So it was prom night.
And you could buy them at that point in time.
Correct.
18
I was
still.
18, yep.
Yeah.
So prom night comes around, and I did not drink at the time. And went to prom. It was me and a friend of mine and Randall and his girlfriend. And we leave prom, and Randall went to his girlfriend's house. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I'm going to have to go pick Randall up at some point. And again, Caleb and Jacob are a theme here. Caleb's fucking hooch that we met in Vegas. That's Caleb.
Yeah.
That's Rafa. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Anyways, they were going to some prom after party, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go there. So I go there, and I'm smoking this cigar and just hanging out, whatever. And I get a text message from Randall at like, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning. He was like, yo, come get me. I was like, all right. So I'm about done with this cigar.
Come get me.
I put it out, and I get in my car. And the loop wasn't a thing then. And I was in Brown Summit, and this was on the other side of Greensboro. So I had like a 45-minute drive to go and pick Randall up. And I start going down the highway, and I get the sweats. And I'm like, this is not normal. Like, what's wrong? And I didn't know anything about nicotine poisoning, right? And so I'm like going down the highway, and I start to feel worse. And so I put all my windows down, and I crank the AC on full blast. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then I had to stop and get gas. I get out of the car, and the smell of gas didn't hit me right. And I was like, this is not good. And so I finally get to his girlfriend's, where his girlfriend lived, pick him up. And I start driving home, or driving to his house. And I get about halfway to his house, and I look at him, and I'm like, dog, you're going to have to drive the rest of the way. Like, I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm going to die. And so I pulled over in the McDonald's parking lot on Cone. And he got in the driver's seat. He drove the rest of the way to his house, which was probably
you guys are almost home at that point too, right? I mean, fairly
He
close.
lived about 10 minutes past me. His parents lived near like Country Hills down that road.
So a little bit farther. Okay.
A little bit farther.
Yeah.
We get to his house, and mind you, when I'm riding home in the passenger seat, I've got the seat laid all the way back.
Yeah.
Like I'm eyes closed, just trying to survive. We get to his house. I open the door, and I puke my ever-loving brains out. I mean, projectile vomiting.
Yeah.
And immediately felt better. But
there's nothing better than when you eject something from your body and instantly be like, that didn't belong there.
Yep.
Glad it's
I was
gone.
like, I'm good. We're good now.
Yeah.
I can drive home.
Yeah.
Everything is fine. But I almost quit smoking after that. Anyways,
and real deal, right? Like you probably, now you had been smoking cigars before that, so it's maybe not as true, but that is one of those that we talk about. Like, if that was your first experience with it,
I'd have never touched it again.
Never.
Nope. Never would have touched it again. So getting to the pipe and pint. So funny enough, after I graduated, my 12th grade English teacher and I ended up becoming pretty close, and we were really good friends. And he actually smoked some cigars on occasion at the time, so we'd get together and smoke cigars sometimes. And he knew of the pipe and pint. And one day he was like, hey, I want to take you by this cigar store. And he took me to the pipe and pint. And so that's how I got to the pipe and pint.
Okay, so you're at the pipe and pint.
So we're both at the pipe and pint.
So now you're at the pipe. I'm not quite there yet, so I'll tell you. So pipe and pint was the first and only. So up until that point, the only cigars I was smoking were very occasionally, very randomly. And I don't know what the catalyst was as to why I was just with it. But our mutual friend Robbie was smoking probably at least a pack, if not a couple packs of cigarettes a day, okay, and wanted to stop smoking cigarettes. So his idea was, I'm going to start smoking cigars to stop smoking cigarettes, which...
That's fair.
Yeah, it also worked. Okay,
yeah.
It worked. That, to my knowledge, hadn't, outside maybe a drunk cig here and there, like done with cigarettes. And I feel like this was like 2004-ish, I think. And he found the pipe and pint. How he found the pipe and pint, just maybe looking through the yellow pages for cigars. I don't know. Internet, I guess. And just said, hey, you want to go by there? And this is the Pipe and Pint's original location on Spring Garden. For those who are familiar, the one right next to Adam and Eve, the sex store, right in line in the little strip center. And we started going there, and I met Larry for the first time, obviously. Jack, shout out Jack, was working there. We, for all the OGs, Jack still does business with us with the old Harris Teeter Humidor. And Jack was working there, and Larry had this 1,000 square foot. Did you ever go in that one?
I never saw the old store.
Okay, so you never went in the old store. So you know where it's at. You know where I'm talking about. You've been past it. So typical 4 or 5 bay, run-of-the-mill retail thing. Shotgun style, it was probably 1,200 square feet. So probably 20 feet wide, 60 foot deep. And small humidor in the back right of the place, kind of built it out with an angle for the door and then to side. And then he just jammed it with cigars. And you think it was jammed at our previous location on Spring Garden. This one just had him packed in there because this humidor was half the size of the most recent one that we had. And Larry, took me in there, did what makes Larry great, talked about it, was genuine about it, and, started getting a cigar. That's where my love of DPG Blue came from, my father, which was kind of my OG cigar. The first one I remember really getting kind of into is Rocky Patel had come out with Edge, and then Edge Sumatra, which was excellent. My father had started coming out with La Reloba, which was great. Had those in there, and then we just started kind of going there, and we got stuff to take back. Got my first kind of small humidor, like a lot of the people who come here, like, hey, I'm new to this, like, do you mind helping me with it? And like you guys, Larry was all about giving you a hand with it, right? Like, hey, this is what you should be looking at. This is what you should be doing. Walked us through it. And then, he had no quote unquote separate lounge. So you had probably 6 to 8 seats near the front door when you first walked in, kind of off to the right, that were kind of set up, 2, and then 1 on each end, maybe 2 on each end, to get this kind of like little kind of around a rug kind of feel. But he had lots and lots and lots of beer. This was during, early craft beer is really starting to take off. He's really early on it. So he's getting a lot of cool stuff. And this is before groceries carried it. So there's tons of beer in there. Hardly any. I don't even know if there was wine at all in there. And had the same cases that the place kind of lined up along the left-hand side. And then we started going in there at least weekly to hang out. Usually met there Fridays after, kind of like a lot of people do after you're done doing work for the day. We'd meet there. We'd go hang out. It was me. It was Robbie. It was Double G. It was Barker, Big John, Bob, all these guys that we all know and love all the way back then. And it just became part of our life, our routine. Like, hey, you want to meet me over there? Just a text message, even on a random day, like we see with our customers, like, hey, and we just became friendly with everybody. You just became your kind of crew, and the only time you saw them really was there, right? It's like you didn't see anybody else otherwise. It'd be like if you saw them at the grocery store. It's like when you bump into your teacher, and you're like, oh wait, who is that? Like what's happening? And so you just became part of that group, and you went in there, and you're doing this. That's the beauty of like the cigar lounge or hanging out. In the best way possible, you're rehashing the same thing. You're talking about sports. You're talking about football. You're talking about the cigars you're smoking. You're, God forbid, you're talking about politics or whatever. I won't tell a story, but one of the funniest things with Robbie and Greg Gonzalez happened that when Robbie told him he was sick of something or whatever, and very, very funny. But it just kind of ingratiated, I guess is the word, in kind of like the lifestyle around it of like hanging out and hanging with those guys. So that is how I got to and in the Pipe and Pint. Mine, I think one like you'll see kind of when we talk about this, and in a lot of things, reason you and I think mesh well is because of the opposites. You're very much this might not be the right word, we'll call it purist about things. And I'm very much about the gratification of things. Like we both like cooking, and you will tell me about something, and it'll be about you get the myotic reaction, and we're getting this, we're doing that, and stuff like that. And we'll both come out with the same end product, and you'll be like, yo, we did this, and I'll be like, yeah, it tastes awesome. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like you always get very much into the breaking down of how something got to where it is.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And so once I found the Pipe and Pint, I have one company and one person to thank for me getting into cigars. Well, three really, but so I go to the Pipe and Pint, brand new to it, got introduced to a brand called Elogio, which I think I've talked about before. Mm-hmm. They still make cigars. At the time, there were only about 20 retailers in the country that carried Elogio. The Pipe and Pint was one of them, and I absolutely adored their cigars. But then I found Viaje, right? And
interesting.
Viaje, the reason I gravitated towards Viaje outside of I like the flavor profile is Viaje had something new every single month.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
And so because there was something new every single month, I knew that every single month I had a cigar that I was more than likely going to like, that I could sit down and dissect. And it was going to be different, right? And so I had a notepad, like a book, and I was that guy that was sitting on my front porch, taking notes, tasting notes, whole 9 yards while I was smoking these cigars. And it was, like I said, it was really Viaje that had it, because I knew that every month I'd have something new to smoke. But then what I started doing is I would go on Cigar Coop. I didn't like Half Wheel at the time. I didn't ever read Half Wheel, but it was always Cigar Coop.
Was Half Wheel even around then?
It may have been called Stogie Press at the time. I don't know. But the reason I gravitated towards Coop is because at the time, Coop would come in the store on occasion.
Yeah, because he was, did he live in Greensboro?
He lived in Charlotte.
Yeah, I was going to say, he definitely lived in North
Charlotte,
Carolina.
But I think at the time, the boutiquiest cigar shop was close to him was Pipe and Pint.
Yeah.
And so anytime we'd get something, it wasn't me, I wasn't working there at the time. Anytime they'd get something new in, I would buy it. Anytime Viaje came in, I would buy it. Like I said, I had this journal. And the other thing that I would do that now if someone did it to me, I would not be happy, but I did it to them, is at the time we could smoke up front, right?
Yeah.
And so I would go in and buy a cigar and stand at the counter for an hour and a half.
Man, you better get your ass in that lounge and leave us alone.
And I would pester Larry. Pete Santino was working there at the time.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yep, Tino was there at the time, asking
Godfrey
them
probably.
Yeah, I would ask them any question that I could think of, like explain it to me, make it make sense to me. And it's funny because I never felt I was intimidated by the lounge.
Yeah,
because
I could see that. Now, for those listening, like Pipe and Pint's now moved to what most of Pipe and Pint customers know the Pipe and Pint for, which is the iconic house that we just moved out of on Spring Garden, and it had a separate lounge in the back. Now, I was back there. Robbie and I were back there with that same crew of guys, so it was less intimidating for us. But I could see how
I was also much younger.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing, right? Because I was.
Oh, in some cases,
I was 18.
Yeah, you're. In some instances, for some of these guys, you were like 50 to 60 years younger than some of the guys hanging out back there.
And so, like, I
Russ
was like,
and Big John. Yeah.
And so, like, I had nothing in common, but what ended up happening is I fell in love with cigars, the idea of cigars, learning about cigars, makers, countries, types of leaf, whole 9 yards. And what ended up happening is, because I stood at the counter for a long time, for many days, is eventually I pestered Larry into giving me a summer job.
Yeah.
Right. And so in 2014, Larry hired me, summer job, and it was me and Doc. You remember Doc?
Oh, yeah.
And Doc worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I thought that was the end-all, be-all. And it wasn't until I started working at the shop and got to know Big John, Russ, John Appel, you, Robbie, like Bob Kennedy, all those guys, Double G. Like, once I got in there and everybody was like, all right, yeah, this kid's all right. Yeah, that's when I started building a relationship
got adopted by
with
the
people.
crew, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But after the summer job ended, went back to college. I was going to Liberty at the time and living on campus. I really missed it, and a bunch of stuff happened that I won't get into on the podcast, but I ended up moving back home after that semester, and went to Larry and I said, hey, I'm back home. I'm finishing my degree online. Do you need some help?
Yeah.
And so he hired me on as the part-time guy, because Santino had left by that point. And I worked basically every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and whenever Larry was on vacation for basically 2 years.
Yeah.
And got to know everybody, really got into the business, saw the business side of things, got to meet a lot of awesome people. That was back when Microfest happened, right? So I got to meet Eric Espinosa, Noel Rojas, met Eduardo Fernandez, Paul Palmer, met Pepin, like all of these big names in the industry. Lito Gomez, they were still traveling at the time. And so I got to meet all of them. And I would just pick their brains. And it was funny because I'll never forget, I met Paul Palmer the first time, and like, for those who don't know, that's Aganor Salif. I don't know exactly what his position is at this point, but he was like what Terrence does now. He was the VP essentially at the time. And I remember talking to him, and he asked me, he was like, do you know how to review a cigar? And I was like, oh, it's all about flavor. And he said, no. And I was like, what? And he was like, if a cigar doesn't smoke, if it's not made right, the flavor doesn't matter. And so he like goes through like construction and everything. And he was like, and what does a cigar taste like? And I was like, well, it depends on what it is. And he said, no, it tastes like tobacco. And I was like, huh, that's not what I was expecting to hear. You know what I mean? But it was the perspective that I was gaining at the time. And so I worked part-time in some capacity up until essentially 2019.
Yep.
And that's where you come back in.
Yep. So going to the Pipe and Pint for years, just as a routine, buying all my cigars there, very tight, obviously, with all the guys in the lounge, very tight with Larry. Consider him a great, great friend. And it's 2018, early 2018 is when I was in the humidor. And Larry at that time had some issues with people abusing the lounge, coming in, for those of you who frequent cigar lounges, the biggest no-no is coming in and taking up a seat in the lounge and not patronizing the business for any reason, not buying something to smoke, not, whatever it may be. And he's having this issue with people, and I think it's probably, too nice to really confront, certain people and stuff like that. So decided to close down the lounge. That was part of it. He needed some of the space and everything like that. So everybody was not there as much, but we started hanging out outside and everything like that. But coming in, hanging out, I'm in the humidor. And at this point, I'm long into my real estate career, doing, different things, real estate investing. We're doing development, that kind of thing. And have some other businesses I'm involved in. And I think it was just reaching the point in Larry's life that he wanted to do less, right? Was just wanting to enjoy, because he worked the shop basically all day, every day. He had your part-time guys, but he was there during that time. You guys were kind of like the second day. He was starting to get out more. He had purchased a house in the mountains and was, visiting that like that. But I think for him to do that was like, a certain level of neurotic. Like he was still concerned about it. And like,
oh yeah, I would get messages from, cause we talked about this before. Larry doesn't have a phone, still doesn't have a phone. I would get messages from Larry on Facebook saying, "Hey, I really want to go to the mountains this weekend. Is there any way you could work? I'm so sorry to ask."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just how Larry was.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't let it go, couldn't give it up, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'm in the humidor, and he just approaches me. He's like, "Listen, I'm thinking about retiring, and potentially selling the pipe and pint. But if Larry, like, it was not just going to sell it to anybody. He would have rather closed it, to be honest with you, than end up in the wrong hands, right? I think he wanted somebody who was part of it and saw what it was and what it could even more be. Because I think he saw what it's turned into now and continuing to, but just was not, at that point in his life, didn't want to dedicate the kind of time that probably it was going to take to do that. And literally came to me, he's like, "What do you think? Would you be interested?" And that kicked off a long conversation for months on end before it ever, ended up coming to fruition. Basically on the anniversary date, just out of coincidence in 2019, and bought it. And you were, at the time, you were working the shop, but you were magistrate at that point in time, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
I just started at the magistrate's office. I worked at the courthouse at the clerk's office for a while, and they approached me about becoming a magistrate. I was maybe a month in at the time, and I will never forget. I was at the magistrate's office. I was training on first shift, and that morning, March 1st, Larry sent me a message and said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know, effective today, I've sold the pipe and pint to Jason Tipton," and then said some really nice, kind stuff about our friendship and everything. But I was dumbfounded.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and that's like him to keep it kind of under wraps. Didn't want, I think, anything to
Yeah,
interfere with it.
and I get it. Yeah, I get it. I wasn't mad at him.
Again, if you know him, you know. Like, if you're at an event with him and then suddenly you don't see him, it's because he's left. He didn't say goodbye or anything like that. He's just out. And so you were with me. You were working the magistrate. You were like kind of like a 1 week on, 1 week off situation with the magistrate. You were working nights
I was
for the magistrate office,
yep.
and then you would come work for us the following week.
Yep.
And that went on for
about
8 months, something like that, maybe?
Not even.
Not even?
Yeah.
And then we we saw this behemoth that could happen if we came together. And then we had lunch and said, "Listen, I would prefer that you worked full time if you're interested." And, you did me the favor of saying yes. And it's been like that ever since. But it was, like I said, it was a long process to get to the point, because obviously we were right smack dab in the middle of building out the Winston-Salem store, which, that was already kind of going down the tracks before Larry and I, because my company was doing the construction for him and building out. Robbie was helping build out the space and everything like that. So then it became this, holy cow, like there's this, but there's that. And, that led into obviously Robbie leading that store for years after that. And then you came on full time, and we've obviously gone through a whole bunch of iterations in that time. And we're still both kind of like on our cigar journey. My journey then goes, and I think a lot in yours goes from enjoying hanging out and smoking cigars and getting into it to then, okay, I get it, but what helps generate revenue for the business that I own and that you now are, kind of, at that time, maybe not necessarily, but now general managing, like, what does that look like? Yes, I like this, but does that mean others like it? And that piece, I think that we've got a good grasp on, but I think if you time traveled back to 2018, 2017, there's a lot of differences in the humidor. There's a lot of similarities. Certainly there's brands that we continue to sell, Perdomos, Padrones, Fuentes, that kind of thing, but there's other things in there now that we've become partners with. We've seen companies grow. Like, Larry was early with my father, right? And now my father is a behemoth of a cigar manufacturer. When, you and I first kind of talked about it, with others, to be fair, like, we had looked at Foundation as a company that we wanted to bring in, that we thought, like, this company now is what my father was 10 years ago. Like, we think this company is going to be, and I think we've lived along with that being true. Mm. Larry was early with Aganorsa. Wasn't even Aganorsa.
Casa
Fernandez, barely just a few of their own cigars, but was making a ton of others. That relationship has blossomed into, an elite partnership for us, somebody we can lean on for all sorts of things.
LFD's the one that always sticks out in my mind with Larry. Like, I remember, because I like LFD. I'm smoking one right now. It's very good. But it's never been like a brand that I super gravitate to.
Yeah.
But I just remembered Larry. Larry told me one time that his favorite cigar of all time was the LFD Factory Press No. 2. And he actually had some upstairs. He gave me one to smoke one time, and it was awesome. But I mean, LFD was tiny back in the day. And Lito knew Larry by name. Like, that's how close it was.
The relationship was. Yeah. And, we've added things, we've subtracted things for all sorts of different reasons. But I think we've kept the same philosophy that the companies that we carry in the humidor, we don't just carry them for the sake of carrying them. We carry them because they sell, but we believe that they're good partners of us as a retailer, right? And that's something that I think reflects kindly on us when people come in to shop it. Like, everybody knows we're not a superstore. We can't carry everything. We're not JR. We're not CI. We're not Holtz. We're not somebody who basically, if you go into one of those humidors, generally speaking, you're basically, outside of maybe some ultra boutiques, you're going to be able to get it all. But I don't know that that's for us, is a good way of doing it. It's not a great experience in the way that we like to do business, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, we get into that position, and then that journey since 2019, I mean, we're, with what I think we have coming in the future and what the different things we can do, it sounds crazy, but I think we're, could be scratching the surface on our cigar journey, right? Like, we've had the opportunity now to do our own cigars. Like, we've got Pipe and Pint, house blends, if you will, with Aganorsa, which is a great cigar, but we've done projects and got to be part of cigar drops and those types of things that maybe was happening before, because I think we're kind of breathing a little bit of new age cigar culture into the kind of that good framework that is the Pipe and Pint, if that makes sense. Like, we've been able to drop La Colonial limited editions. We worked with Aganorsa in doing our 25th anniversary cigar, which I think was one of the best cigars to come
had somebody called today
out of our humidor.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
One of the absolute best cigars to come out of our humidor was an unbelievable event. We do more customer related events than we probably ever have, and we're venturing into even more than we even did before and stuff like that, because we've got the people, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the hustle that that it takes to do those things, right? We've it's reflected in our social media presence, right? Like you can go back and see this clear line.
I told you, I think when you bought the place, I created an Instagram for the Pipe and Pint just because I thought Larry needed one.
Yeah.
We had the Facebook pages and that marketing was going very well, but Instagram was a big thing. And I was like, well, they're not going to do it. I will.
Yeah.
And I posted randomly and sporadically, and it almost felt dirty doing it because it was like,
yeah,
you know, like I'm a part-time guy here. I shouldn't probably be running the Instagram page. And then half the time I used it for my own personal cigar page.
Yeah.
Which is silly. But at the same time, I was only buying stuff from the Pipe and Pint, so I was only posting stuff on it that was from the Pipe and Pint. But yeah, there's a very clear line. The last post I ever did on it before it really became active again was a post of some Wicked Weed beer that had just come in back in like 2015. And like, or maybe it was 16, I don't know. But yeah, just the evolution of that and everything. And I mean, it's cool to reminisce and look back on everything and see, you know, how far it's come and where it's going and whatnot. And, you know, the one thing about anybody's cigar journey, like we're two different people that like you said, I like the nuance. I like I want to know, like I want to know everything. And you just are like, yeah, I know it tastes good. Right. I know it sells. Right. And there are other people that are like me. There's other people that are like you, but that's why I like cigars, right? Like cigars bring people together. They're for everybody. You don't have to get down into the nitty gritty like I do. Like I was talking to a guy today and he was like, I can't tell you it tastes like this, this, and this, but I can tell you if I like it. And I'm like, I get it, man. Like I get it. Like, but that's why I like cigars.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and we're not done with this journey. No. Like there's just different things we get to do now that maybe like, you know, 19, 20, 21-year-old Ethan's like, oh shit, we get to do that. You and I have already talked about the idea of what could end up being what would be a 30th anniversary cigar. And going from seed to ash, the real deal with this, like, and to come out with something, right? Yeah. Like to be able to do those things is something, you know, like when you're in this industry or around it, or you're part of the culture, like you're like, I mean, no way I'd be able to do that, right? You know,
that's exactly right.
And 2026, you know, the barriers get lowered just with technology or whatever to be able to do those types of things. But all the different things we've got to do, like we are, you know, we're helping to launch what we think is one of the best cigars to come out of the last who knows when, for a person that we've come to know through social media, right? Like that's how you and Martello have been, like.
Yeah, literally. That's a part of my cigar journey I'm not going to get super deep into, but like I was at home with COVID and I had long hauler COVID, as they call it, and lost my smell for God knows how long. It's like 90% back now. Some days are better than others. But I actually questioned whether or not I actually like cigars at that point because it's like I couldn't taste them. And then I realized I did, but that's a story for another time. But while I was home with COVID, Martello was getting into cigars. He messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, man, do you have anything old? Because he wanted old stuff.
Yeah, he was on the hunt during COVID
for old,
like just as a cigar guy. He's like, listen, I'm going to look for things that, you know, and all of us know, like, depending on the cigar shops, you're going to have cigar shops that either keep things out of sentimental reasons, keep things out of like reasons Larry just would stick it away because he thinks like, you know, the value may go up, or just maybe it didn't sell at the time in their market. So they would, you know, they just duck things away, right? Put it on the top shelf, put it back in the spare humidor. And he was legit on the hunt for stuff all over the country.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just so happened to get in contact with us because of El Rey. And he ended up buying
El Rey.
It was El Rey, and he ended up buying some from us. And then he really got into La Colonia. And then he sent me a message one day and was like, "Hey man, I really want to get into cigars, and like I wouldn't mind opening my own cigar shop. Could you talk to me about that?" And I was like, "Sure, man." And we FaceTimed one day and talked for an hour about that, and then 2 hours about everything else.
Yeah.
And at the time I didn't have a kid, so for every week it felt like for years, two years or something like that. Yeah. We talked at least once a week, FaceTiming, just talking about cigars, talking about the industry. And I don't want to share his whole story because we'll have him on the podcast when he's here for Ortolan.
His cigar journey for sure.
But it's a great one, and now he's coming out with his cigar, and I mean, I know you've smoked it and I've smoked it, and people probably think, oh, you're just saying it's good because you're friends with him.
I cannot wait for that day when the people who are in our area or come to our store get to, he's doing some events leading up to that, and the couple weeks lead up to that. So there'll be certain areas to get it first and stuff like that. But everybody down here is going to be able to try it here for the very first time, and for them to experience it. Good Lord. Experience it for the first time and see what we've been talking about, and to let them know, like, we haven't been blowing smoke here, no pun intended. Yeah. Like, this thing is the real deal. But to get to be a part of that is just not something you always get to do, right? It's I feel like we have done, and I think this is kind of where you and I separate a little bit from Larry, probably a lot of it from Larry, right? Is the involvement in the industry as a whole now that we are, right? Getting involved in things. Larry famously never attended the trade show, and you certainly don't have to, but we find it beneficial that we're there, that not only do we get to see what's coming out, that we need, get to try things and stuff like that, but we get to put ourselves out in front of people that who we are, that what we're trying to do. And then it leads into being part of these things, right? And then connecting with other shops that we've, made friends with, other shop owners, but new products, whatever it is. He just didn't do that. And I if you met him, you would know why, right? Like, just personality wise. But I think our involvement in the overall industry, whether it's making new products, creating our own drops, having these big events, cigar releases, all those different types of things. We go back to the 25th anniversary party, which was incredible. I'm not sure Larry would have wanted personally to have handled something like that, right? So, but we like doing those types of things and getting, and part of it is to make sure that we're competitive with others who are starting shops and starting lounges and everything like that, and doing those types of things. So that's one of those key things I think that differentiate. It could have been a different time. They would have been all about that, but he was reaching a point where he just, that everybody does. You're trying to slow it down. You're trying to be with kids, grandkids, whatever it may be.
Yep.
But, our journey really is just starting.
Yep.
Like, it's the cool things we get to do when it comes to cigars, I think
the cigar industry
would make the average, cigar geek just jealous as all get out. He's like, oh, you were just talking to Gillis? It's like, yeah, we
that guy's email.
Yeah, we send stuff all the time. And I was like, he's a dude.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing and the cool thing about the cigar industry, and we may have touched on this before, is that it's a big industry, but it's a small industry. And it's one of those few industries where a retail store owner and GM can get involved with the movers and shakers, the people who own the factories and make the cigars that everybody loves. Like, we have personal relationships with a decent amount of them.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you can't go to Frito-Lay and be like, oh, I want to make my own potato chip. You know what I mean?
That would be sick.
It would be sick.
If I get my own Dorito.
Yeah, right? But like the cigar industry, you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
really
cool.
Like you said, we're lucky enough to have relationships, but have close relationships with certain ones, right? Where you literally text to be like, hey, what do you think of this? Or I'm interested in doing this, or, whatever. And you get a text back or a call back or whatever it is. So, we're scratching the surface. There's a ton of cool stuff coming down the pipelines, and, all sorts of different things we're going to be able to do. So stick with us. I promise you it's going to be awesome.
Yep. You think we got time for this Mount
Rushmore?
We
got more time for Mount Rushmore.
All right. So here was my Mount Rushmore idea. Okay. You can tell me which way
I need clarification.
You can tell me which way you want to go with it. And I feel like one way is a little bit easier than the other. My thought was Mount Rushmore of either cigar brands all time or cigar people of all time. And the reason I say the cigar people thing is because sometimes it's hard to separate the people from the brand.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the people's a little bit harder. And honestly, I would rather save that Mount Rushmore for when Martello.
I've got some other ones. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because he, like I told you, he and I talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
But I think we could do the cigar brands without getting into the cigar.
We're going to do cigar brands. And so here's a clarification I want. So for others, you're getting to pick 4 things.
4 things.
We're doing it snake draft style.
Yep.
Okay. And cigar brands, and we're thinking like all time. We're not asking for each other's Mount Rushmores of cigar brands, of our favorites. We're talking about of the industry that is cigars.
Correct.
Okay. So, snake draft, do you want first pick or second pick?
Are we going to go 1, 2, 1, or are we going 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll take second pick.
God damn it. Should have never let you.
All right, I'll go first.
No. All right, so 1-1.
This is a big pick.
It is, because I think it could be a multitude of different ones. And golly, I really, really appreciated the second pick. 1-1, I'm going to go Monte Cristo. I'm going to go Monte Cristo. It's not what I smoke, but when we talk about legacy brands that that just have a staple on cigars, whether it's the Cuban brand of Monte Cristo, I'm taking it all. You get the whole thing.
That's where I was going to go.
You get the whole thing.
The whole thing. Yep.
You get the whole thing. So the Cuban brand of Monte Cristo, along with the States, it's a name that is just absolutely, I feel like you could have gone with, it is wild. You could have gone with 5 more other ones here.
Yeah, I'm a little...
But I'll see what you go 2, 3, because they either could have been what I was racking my brain with one.
If I'd have had the first pick, I would have gone with a Cuban brand. I would not have gone with Monte Cristo, but I do think it's a great pick.
Okay.
But I would have gone with a Cuban brand.
Yeah.
Now, since I've got 2, 3, I'm not going with a Cuban brand for either of them.
Neither of these brands have a Cuban presence.
Nope.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
You probably know what they are.
Maybe. They're going to be maybe. Sorry, go ahead. You start with your number. So number 2 pick.
Padron.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, it was one of the ones that I'm going through one, but it's that Cuban heritage that made me go Monte Cristo. And I made companies. Okay. Great pick. It was right there with me.
So the reason I'm going Padron instead of another Cuban brand is because when I was talking with Mike about this, there were 2 companies that, so we were like, okay, is this going to be a Mount Rushmore of all time, or is this going to be a decades Mount Rushmore? Okay.
Oh, good Lord. Then you really could break it down.
Well, here's the thing. Padron and the second pick that I'm going to pick would be on every single Mount Rushmore regardless of the decade. And that is why I'm picking these 2.
Okay.
Because Padron could be in the, early 90s, whatever Mount Rushmore. They can be in the 2000s Rushmore. They can be in the 2010s Mount Rushmore. I think they're well deserving of every single Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Period, if you break it up by decades. Yeah, sure. As well as my second pick, which is Fuente.
Yeah. God damn it. I knew I could have told you that you were going Padron Fuente.
Because Fuente made a name for themselves with Don Carlos. Yeah. And then Carlito came on the scene and came out with Opus.
Yep.
And revolutionized the industry, revolutionized the DR. People thought that they couldn't make a Dominican Puro, and he said, F you, yes I can, and came out with Opus X, right? So, those 2 brands, in my opinion, are the 2 quintessential brands of any humidor in the industry, period. But they're 2 brands that aren't Cuban that span every single decade and deserve to be on it, regardless of what kind of time frame you put on this.
Yes.
unless you get to before they existed.
They were 100% going to be in this Mount Rushmore, no matter how you put it. And everybody that we pick in these 8, it's going to be 8, are going to be names, right? They had to be names. What you associate cigars with, and everything like that. So 2, 3. All right, so it's back to me for.
Are you going back to back?
Yeah, because you
go back to back, then I'll go back to back.
I'm on my number 2 and 3 right now, right?
Yep.
The way this is shaking out already, I can tell you right now, I'm probably going to end up with 4 cigars that are massive names that I probably don't smoke them. Okay, I don't smoke Monte Cristos. One of the best cigars I ever smoked was a Monte Cristo. Okay, we've told that story. The Cuban Monte Cristo anniversary. Salomon. Unbelievable. But state supplied Monte Cristos I don't smoke. But I think if you polled people, you would like, this is a brand that is synonymous. Going to be very similar with this pick. Okay. And it's Cohiba.
That's what I would have picked first.
Okay. You would have. So
I'd have flip-flop Monte and Cohiba.
I was racking my brain between these 4. Yeah. And really the 3. I think I would have always taken Fuente after Padron. But it was those 4 that I'm racking my brain through. Now thinking it's like, I end up with both anyway. So, a little steal in the draft. Yeah. But Cohiba may be the most recognized name
in the world
when it comes to cigars, right? Whether it's stateside stuff, the Cuban stuff, the heritage of it, the timing of it, the exclusive cigars that they've done, the expensive stuff they've done, the massive cigars, everything like that. The Cohiba band is as recognizable probably as any other product, obviously smaller subsect of people who smoke cigars. I get that. But the look of the brand and the band is as recognizable, I think, as any, with the yellow and everything like that. So my second pick, 4th pick overall, Cohiba. Now we get started in a kind of like splitting hairs.
Yep.
Not because one's better than the others, but like tons of big branded names. I'm tempted to go with another that is very much a heritage brand that has the Cuban heritage that I think people would know and everything like that. And again, I swear to you, I'm going to end up with 4 that I don't smoke cigars from. And not because, just because. But I'm going Romeo. Yeah. I think it's this split on this is fascinating. It's accurate, but fascinating, right? We're going to end up with the 8 that I wrote down and didn't bring up here. But Romeo, another name you can't escape if you're in cigars. You can't escape it. The Cuban, the Dominican, all the stuff they know, the logos, everything about it, it. It's as recognizable as any of the other brands. It's probably more recognizable than Fuente, I would bet. Certainly.
Yeah.
Fuente's more. They've been around a long time, but more recent in people's memories, I think, than what the Romeo is.
I think you have to at least be a cigar smoker or know something about cigars to have heard of Fuente.
Yes,
people know Romeo and Juliet, Monte Cristo, and Cohiba, regardless of whether or not they smoke.
Correct.
Right? They've heard that name before.
Yes.
Just like bourbon. You may not drink bourbon, but you know what Buffalo Trace is. You may not drink Scotch, but you know what Macallan is. Right? Like you
may not drink any liquor, but you know exactly what Jack Daniels is.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
And Cohiba, Monte, Romeo is Jack Daniels.
Yep.
If we're running a comparison.
Yep.
Right? It's heritage, it's time, it's it's recognizable. It is the cigar culture.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
Right. So I'm going Romeo.
So now that
I've plucked the heritage brands out.
Yeah, you have.
Because I think there's other heritage brands that are awesome that come from the Cuban heritage and stuff like that, but I don't know if they would be as recognizable. So I'm not going to put any names out there because I'd be very curious.
Agreed. But I was gonna take Romeo if you didn't take it. Am I going back to back here?
Yeah, these are your last two.
All right. So now I'm gonna break mine up. I'm gonna go regional. My Mount Rushmore is regional at this point. So I have a Nicaraguan.
Regional.
I have a Dominican.
Oh.
I'm gonna take a Honduran and I'm gonna take a Cuban. Okay. You've got the big three Cubans.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say my favorite Cuban, and that's Hoya de Monterrey.
Okay.
Now,
that is one of the names I had in my head that may not be as recognizable.
Yep. And I agree with you. Like, if you know cigars and you know Cuban cigars, you've heard of Hoya de Monterrey before. I'm taking it more so because I'm going Nicaragua, Dominican, Cuban, Honduran at this point. That's how I've decided to do this in my head.
Okay.
But my favorite just everyday Cuban of all time is the Hoya de Monterrey Epicure No. 2. I love that cigar. I used to keep a box of them at my house at all times before they got up to be $750 a piece or whatever it is.
Damn.
But I'm going to take them. I thought about taking something else, but because I'm doing this regionally, I
know what your last pick is. I'm going to let you pick it, but I think it is.
Is it Camacho?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So here's the thing with Camacho. If we were doing a Mount Rushmore of people, Julio Iroa has to be on the Mount Rushmore.
100%.
Has to be on there because he revolutionized tobacco growing in Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that created Camacho back in the day. Camacho, before being sold to Davidoff, was an absolute powerhouse. They proved that you could make good cigars in Honduras, and Honduras didn't just grow shitty tobacco. Yes, it was sold. Do I smoke much Camacho now? No. But old Camacho did more for Honduras than any other cigar brand in Honduras has ever done for that country.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's deserving to be on there. Just like if we were doing a Mount Rushmore of people, I'd put Julio Iroa on the Mount Rushmore of people.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
Would probably be in the first couple if we're doing that.
Now, if you don't take the other one, I will tell everybody what my one that I would replace Hoya de Monterrey with if I wasn't doing
it regionally.
Which I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I could have done it regionally, but it's okay. I've already picked it.
So because I have the last pick, I can put some things out there and tell you. So part of me wants to put something more contemporary on there. So I've thought about my father in Pepin. I think Perdomo is close, really close. It's contemporary. But ultimately, and you just mentioned them, I'm going to put Davidoff there.
Yeah, I forget that Davidoff had a Cuban brand at one point.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I should have put instead of Hoya de Monterrey, but it's okay.
It falls in line with if you don't know anything about cigars or if you're going in for your first or something like that, you know what Davidoff is for all sorts of reasons. But the luxury brand aspect that is Davidoff warrants it being on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But like, I think you can make a case for my father. I think you can make a case for Perdomo. I think you can make a case for Oliva.
Yeah. This is why I said,
and I literally have 4 cigar brands. I just don't smoke their brands.
Yep. This is why I asked if you wanted to do the people or the brands, and I'm not going to get into names right now, but there are names that are associated with some of those brands that while we may not have put the brand on the Mount Rushmore, the people belong on the Mount Rushmore.
I think Pepin goes on the Mount Rushmore if we're doing people.
So I think you can certainly make an argument for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it may not be first or second pick.
Whatever. So a couple brands that I think we've left off that are deserving of at least a conversation. Drew Estate.
Drew Estate, certainly.
Drew Estate, because of how Jonathan Drew revolutionized the industry with flavored cigars.
Yep.
Plasencia,
yes.
but it's more so the name behind it than the brand.
I feel like you have to be more in the know to realize what Plasencia does.
Correct. Rocky Patel.
Yeah?
Not that I love Rocky's cigars, but what he's been able to do over the course of the years and how he did the edge and how big of a deal that was. Yep. I mean, he's still got the sticker on the box of like the original edge. Like this is an what am I trying to say?
Authenticity.
Thank you. You're welcome. Sticker on the box.
Yeah.
Because people were literally ripping edge off and like trying to counterfeit them just like they do Cubans.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
We could talk LFD. We can talk what Lito's done in the DR, right?
Yeah, AJ.
Talk about AJ and like what AJ.
He's one of those that feels like the person over the brand.
Yeah, and then there's that's why I think this name one will be super interesting. Plus, we'll have a third person here to do it.
Yeah, we get a lot more people on the list.
We'll get some more people on the list because Mike and I were like arguing back and forth. Honestly, we argued the most about Pepin, about whether or not he belonged on it. But yeah, I think we both have two really good lists for good reasons.
I think the right names are on the list. If we, again, subjective.
Yeah.
And those kind of who just missed the cutoff, like they're right there. They're legitimate. But like those 4 brands.
Well, so real quick, and this doesn't have to be snake draft, just top of your head, real quick. If you were doing your Mount Rushmore of brands, what would your Mount Rushmore be?
Okay, I'll go first. We can rip this out.
Yeah, you just give me all 4 because we can share on this.
My Father, Foundation, Perdomo, My Father, Foundation, Perdomo. Padron. My Father, Foundation, Perdomo, Padron.
Mine would be
Tatuaje.
Tat, Illusione, Padron. I don't know on that 4th one.
Interesting enough, you wouldn't put Viaje on it, would you?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. No, I honestly probably would put Casa Fernandez on it. Aganorsa.
See, that's a close one for me too.
But the funny thing about Aganorsa is it would be on my Mount Rushmore not because of the cigars they make for themselves, although I do like a lot of cigars they make for themselves. It would be because of the cigars they make for other people. And the tobacco.
And they're just their tobacco. Again, this is not a Mount Rushmore of the best cigars we've ever smoked.
Yeah.
Because that could put 4 different brands on there. Yeah. Like that would put Monte Cristo at the top. Mine, it would put Fuente on mine, everything like that. Yeah. But those are the 4 that I enjoy their portfolio and smoke the most out of.
Yep.
Now I haven't smoked everything. AJ's really close these days.
Yep.
I like everything he has been doing. I really like Placencia. Like all the stuff. Everybody's got something that really, sticks out. But
yeah. Yep.
Good Mount Rushmore, dude.
Good Mount Rushmore.
All right. Event this Friday. West Tampa, Illusione. If you're in town, come check it out. We got live music. We've got food trucks. We got a bunch of other events coming up. We've got, be on the lookout for some cool Fuente stuff. We got Summer of Love stuff coming at the end of the week. We'll do some pictures and such of. But outside of that, we're going to try to record something next week. Can't do it next Tuesday. You guys are going to be at the Road Show in Charlotte.
Oh, we're going to that?
Yep, we're going to go to it. Might as well. So we'll be doing some ordering there and stuff like that. But Cigars in the Park, baseball coming up. One of our favorite events in a couple weeks.
Sold out, unfortunately.
Sold out. Don't ask. Don't tell.
Yep.
And then you will be out in the field picking some tobacco. So
that's right.
Just putting your overalls on, getting out there.
Exactly right.
Getting in the weeds, man. Getting in the weeds. C-dash. Unbelievable. All right. Good?
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Yeah, between 2 burns. Between 2 burns, yeah, between 2 burns. Come and join the convo. Jason and Ethan here to talk, yo. Chilling while we filling up the room with cigar smoke. Hey, between 2 burns. Between 2 burns, yeah, between 2 burns. This be the show that you like. We always keeping it hype. We got cigars and a mic, talking the pipe and the pint. Let's go.